Salient features of the constitutions of various democratic countries. Constitution of USA. The United States of America is a federal republic consisting of 50 states and a federal district. Main features of its constitution are: presidential democracy. President is the head of state and head of government. Federal system. It is a federal state that emerged from an initial agreement between a number of separate states. The Constitution and the rule of law. In the United States, the Constitution is king. Only laws passed through the mechanisms established by the Constitution are valid. Furthermore, any law that is inconsistent with the limitations, structures or principles established by the Constitution is considered, by definition, invalid. The separation of powers and checks and balances. Another prominent feature of the U.S. Constitution is its scheme of separated powers. The framers were well aware of the need to preserve liberty while establishing order with the new Constitution. Constitution of UK. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, commonly known as the United Kingdom, UK, and Britain, is a sovereign state located off the northwestern coast of continental Europe. The country includes the island of Great Britain, the northeastern part of the island of Ireland, and many smaller islands. The UK's form of government is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary system, and its capital city is London. It consists of 4 countries: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Characteristics or features of the UK Constitution. The Constitution is not written in the sense of having a single document defining the powers of government and rights of individuals. Nevertheless, many sources of constitutional law are written, and these together with the non-legal rules make up the British government. The Constitution is flexible and based on continuity of development. In the absence of a written constitution having the status of fundamental or higher law, the concept of parliamentary sovereignty or legislative supremacy represents the cornerstone of the Constitution. There is no strict separation of powers between the executive, legislature, and judiciary, although a separation of functions exists and the concept retains importance under the Constitution. The United Kingdom has a constitutional monarchy. The United Kingdom is a unitary, as opposed to a federal state. The legislature is bicameral in nature. The judiciary is independent. Constitution of France. France is a unitary semi-presidential republic located mostly in Western Europe. The current Constitution of France was adopted on the 4th of October 1958. It is typically called the Constitution of the Fifth Republic, and replaced that of the Fourth Republic dating from 1946. Since then, the Constitution has been amended 18 times, most recently in 2008. Salient features of its Constitution are: the preamble of the Constitution recalls the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen from 1789 and establishes France as a secular and democratic country, deriving its sovereignty from the people. It provides for the election of the President and the Parliament, the selection of the government, and the powers of each and the relations between them. It ensures judicial authority and creates a High Court, a never-convened court for judging the President, a Constitutional Council, and an Economic and Social Council. It was designed to create a politically strong president. It enables the ratification of international treaties and those associated with the European Union. The Constitution also sets out methods for its own amendment either by referendum or through a parliamentary process with presidential consent. Constitution of Russia. Russia is a federal semi-presidential republic, comprising 83 federal subjects. Salient features of its constitution are: the Russian constitution is based on world standards for human rights and basic principles of democratic state building, such as ideological neutrality of the state, political pluralism, competitive elections, and separation of powers. The Constitution establishes a semi-presidential system, resembling the French system but with stronger executive power. Due to the increased independence of the president in comparison to the French model, the President of the Russian Federation holds primary power in the Russian political system. The President, who is elected for a 6-year term, following the 2008 amendments to the Constitution, is the head of state and the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. The Constitution prescribes that the government of Russia is the executive branch of state power and is consisting of a Prime Minister, Chairman of the government, Deputy Prime Ministers, and federal ministers and their ministries and departments. The legislature's innate checks and balances are reflected in the ability of the Federal Council to examine and subsequently revise or reject legislation passed by the Duma. The Russian Constitution provides for a constitutional court, a Supreme Court of arbitration, and for the development of various lower courts. In contrast, the Constitution withholds several areas of traditional court jurisdiction from the court and instead gives them to the President. Constitution of Germany. Germany is a federal parliamentary republic in Western Central Europe. The country consists of 16 states. Salient features of its constitution are: the basic law for the Federal Republic of Germany is the Constitution of Germany. It was approved on the 8th of May 1949, and, with the signature of the Western Allies of World War II on the 12th of May, came into effect on the 23rd of May. Basic rights are fundamental to the Basic Law, in contrast to the Weimar Constitution, which listed them merely as state objectives. The Basic Law established Germany as a parliamentary democracy with separation of powers into executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The executive branch consists of the largely ceremonial federal president as head of state, and the federal chancellor, the head of government, normally, but not necessarily, the leader of the largest grouping in the Bundestag. The legislative branch is represented by the Bundestag, elected directly through a mixture of proportional representation and direct mandates. The judicial branch is headed by the Federal Constitutional Court, which oversees the constitutionality of laws. Basic law may be amended by an absolute two-thirds majority of the Bundestag along with a simple two-thirds majority of the Bundesrat. Germany has switched between confederal, federal and unitary rule since the German Confederation was founded in 1815. The current Germany is a federal system of states. Constitution of Japan. Japan is a constitutional monarchy where the power of the emperor is very limited. As a ceremonial figurehead, he is defined by the constitution as the symbol of the state and of the unity of the people. Salient features of its constitution are: The Constitution provides for a parliamentary system of government and guarantees certain fundamental rights. The Constitution, also known as the post-war Constitution, is most characteristic and famous for the renunciation of the right to wage war contained in Article 9, and to a lesser extent, the provision for de jure popular sovereignty in conjunction with the monarchy. It is a rigid document and no subsequent amendment has been made to it since its adoption. Legislative authority is vested in a bicameral National Diet and, whereas previously the upper house had consisted of members of the nobility, the new constitution provided that both chambers be directly elected. Executive authority is exercised by a prime minister and cabinet answerable to the legislature, while the judiciary is headed by a Supreme Court.